If you are interested in adding a high ticket offer to your business, we're going to show you the 5-step sales process to selling high ticket. And if you're interested in that and you want to add that to your high intensity training business, you're going to really enjoy today's episode. Laura's still here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your hit business and fueling your passion for high intensity training. Today, we are welcoming back Dave Bess. Dave is the co-founder of Underground Fitness and later launched PT Legends and Greenlight Personal Training. He's taken 30 different business cohorts through this high-ticket sales training that we're going to go through today. And Dave, why don't you just elaborate briefly on some of the results you've seen from those cohorts?
Yeah, there's really two camps of gym owners who we work with. So we've specifically designed our sales training process for gym owners. There's two types. We've taken people that are more newer into the industry. So let's just say in business less than a year. The downside with working with those gyms is they don't have a massive list. Okay. So a gym owner who's been around in the game for 5, 10, 15 years, they have this massive list. So when you build on or bolt on your high ticket transformational program, the results are absolute insanity. On the other hand, a newer gym owner doesn't have as big of a list. They don't have as much conviction and certainty, so we can't start off their high ticket price point at a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 price point. So our goal with new gym owners who come in the program, 5 to 10K. So a 5 to 10K launch would be nails. Now, gym owners who have that massive list that already have, they're selling one-on-one PT, maybe a 6-week, more like an accountability. I call it like a Hermosi type program. Their confidence, their conviction, like, it's already kind of set in stone. So adding on this new mentorship program, we've had Sierra out of Chicago. She just went through our program. She had a $50,000 launch. So built out her high ticket program. She launched it. Once, keep in mind, she had a huge list. She was already a big name inside of her community. People they craved to work with her more of her one-on-one with more lifestyle habits and routines, which the high ticket is. So her case study program out of the gate, I think, was 3 to 4K. So that's the two camps. If you're a newer gym owner, it's like we have to lower those expectations. Whereas if a gym owner comes in, they have some confidence and conviction. They have that list. The list is the key. That's the one that when you bring out a brand new program and it talks about, more transformational change, a $50,000 launch is possible. So that's
on the lower end, 5 to 10K, you mean in addition to the personal training, sort of MRR, this is like in addition to that in terms of high ticket, 5 to 10K extra, which is not to be sniffed at or sneezed at, should I say. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's impressive. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, and I just wanted to say as well, before we get into this, I know that, I don't know whether I even need to say this, but obviously not everyone has to do high ticket. And maybe if you're listening to this podcast, you are interested in high ticket, or maybe you're just a loyal listener, and I appreciate that, and you're open-minded. I think you can build a very successful business in this space with simply one-on-one and or small group. And it's purely optional. If you want to add a high ticket service, perhaps there are some pros and cons to that. But today we're going to explore that option, and I'm excited to learn more, Dave. So do you want to share? Is that the next step here? You share your screen share and we'll go through.
Give me the screen share capacity. We will dive right into this. So I'm going to share my screen.
Look, your desktop is insane.
Oh, you don't even know if this is something I might be able to teach some high ticket things when it comes to cleaning up desktop. That is not my specialty.
Fair enough.
So
okay.
5-step process. So our average cohort has anywhere from, let's say, 6 to 10 gym owners who go through it. We have worked with gym owners from all the way from Australia to New Zealand, the Philippines to Mississippi, Ireland. There's actually Irish. He's starting, I think, a couple cohorts from now who signed on. So as a gym owner, thank God I'm a gym owner, just because the last 4 years, the market, there's insane shifts. Like every 6 months, Lawrence, there's something new that's happening, right? Like right now economies, the world war on the horizon. There's so many ups and downs to the marketplace. I'm very blessed and lucky that I am a gym owner. Our program has changed so much over the course of the last 30 cohorts. So as we needed to change at Greenlight Underground, we were able to say, oh, this isn't working anymore. Let's start implementing X, Y, and Z. So this is the newest edition right here on how we teach the exact sales process. And for simplification, it breaks down into 5 steps. We were talking before we hit the record button. Each of these steps, we could probably do an entire podcast on. Like what we're doing today is almost a crash course of the entire 8-week process minus objection handling. So we do 3 weeks of objection handling, but this starts the second, what was our last podcast on? Lawrence is on RAFO, right?
Yes, our last one, yeah.
Start there. Like, so you're RAFOing someone and you're in this communication with them. Maybe it's a former client. The sales process starts with the discovery call. Okay, so discovery call. What I'm going to challenge everybody out there to do is to start implementing this call immediately. You are adding a step to the sales process. I will say it's going to change your life. Reason being, Lawrence, how many times have you had a consult with someone? They come in, they sit down, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a very long 30 to 40 minute conversation. Like someone that comes in and I call them an energy sucker. Like, hey, I know you probably do consults, I'm sure in your career. I wonder you've had those consults, correct?
Oh yeah, and obviously in the personal training business, but I still do them now, right? So I've done them in lots of different contexts. And energy vampires, as I've heard, synonymous with what you said. Just backing up slightly, just so people are aware who may not have listened to the podcast about RAFOing. RAFO is Dave's process for one of his processes for lead generation, which is excellent. So you can find a link at highintensitybusiness.com. This is episode 486, I believe. So if you want to watch that to learn how to actually, generate the leads to then book the discovery call, because this is obviously what we're talking about today is happening after the fact, right after that. So yeah.
Love it. So yeah, like I could rewind and do like a quick raffle. So say Lawrence, for example, you liked getting the best shape of your life in 60 minutes a week. So you liked one of those posts. Okay. Then I would DM you and be like, brother, what's going on? Thank you so much for supporting my last post. Like, are you working out 60 minutes a week? What's going on with you? So I start up that conversation, right? That's kind of this small talk phase. Then eventually it's going to get to a point of like, hey, would you be interested in more of an efficient way to work out? Yeah, Dave, that actually sounds pretty interesting. So my offer there would be the offer the discovery call.
Right.
Like Lawrence, like if I made 10 minutes later on this week, would you be down for jumping on a really quick call so we can get a little bit more clarity around where you're at? Then Lawrence says yes. That's when the discovery call process starts. So the discovery process, what it is a 5 to 10 minute qualifying call. So I'm not talking your ear off for 15 to 20 minutes where we're talking about fantasy football and the weather. Like we're not talking about every issue that you're going through. This call, we want to keep it super tight because we want to establish what I like to call the doctor frame. Most people who call into a gym, a personal training studio, if someone would call your gym right now, what questions do they have initially? So if I called your gym right now, you answer the phone. Hey, what's going on? It's X, Y, and Z Fitness. What can I do for you? How is that prospect or potential lead? Like, how are they going to answer that question, Lawrence?
What do you mean? How is the person picking up the phone going to answer it, or how?
No, like the prospect that calls in, there's only like 2 or 3 questions that they're going to ask. So what are those questions when someone calls in?
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's going to be like how much is a training? How much is a membership? What are your hours? What are your opening hours? What packages do you have? I don't know. Well, would those be accurate? What else? What am I missing? Yeah.
No, that's it. 100%. If you give the lead the control of the conversation and that frame, you've lost.
Yeah.
The second you start asking about what does your program look like, can you walk me through the prices? It's game over. So what I love about that discovery call is it allows us to take control of the frame. Okay, so there's 4 parts to the discovery call process. We're going to go over high level today, but just know that initial 30 seconds on the discovery call is you get to build that frame. You get to say, in a very nice and polite way, this is my office, I'm in charge. Okay. Second big part of the discovery call, you get to qualify them. So it's not them asking questions to qualify you, you're asking them questions. So you get to qualify them. My favorite part of the discovery call, and it's not even close though, is I'm going to give them some homework at the end of the call. Okay. In order for Greenlight, in order for them to do a perfect, what we call our perfect consult, which is more of the deep dive, where they come in for our basically 10, 15-minute workout. Then we sit down and go through like, hey, what's really holding you back? In order to even qualify for that second part of our sales process, they have to complete the homework. So just imagine that, Lawrence. Just imagine that every single one of your leads, like, hey, here's some homework. It's 5 to 10 to 15 minutes. They fill that out. Now, all of a sudden, they've taken that first step. They've shown me that they're coachable. And we'll go through the homework that we give them too. It's almost like a cheat code, believe it or not. Like, do you remember Nintendo way back in the day? Did you ever play Nintendo? Yeah, it's like the game Genie. I call it the game Genie. So like, I already have the answers to the test. So we'll get into that in a second. That's the 3 things that happens though when you implement this discovery call process. Okay. I'm going to whiz through this because we could do an entire podcast. I would love to do an entire podcast on the discovery call process. There's 4 parts to it. Okay. The first part is the 30-second intro. So that's where I'm letting you know, Lawrence, brother, appreciate you showing up on time to this meeting. Just to let you know, I have a podcast I'm jumping on in 10 minutes. So we have to keep this call tight. Purpose of the call is really simple, brother. I want to hear more about your story. I want to hear what are your struggles? What are your obstacles? What are your fitness struggles? Then from there, 1 or 2 things are going to happen. We're going to be jiving at the end of the call. We will move you on to the second part of the process. For whatever reason, if you're not jiving, or I'll be honest, if I don't feel you're a good fit for what we do, I'm going to give you some resources and get you pointed in the right direction. How does that sound? Not one person in the world says that does not sound good. So do you see, that's how I build my frame. I did that rapid fire version, but I'm still polite. But in 30 seconds, I'm saying this is the purpose of the call. This is what's going to happen after the call. So I'm building up that entire roadmap for them in the first 30 seconds of the call.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
From there, I'm going to ask a series of 4 questions. Okay. For the sake of today's podcast, let's just focus on question number 1. Okay. Question number 1 is, Lawrence, brother, tell me what you're struggling with the most right now. Is it just workouts? Is it accountability? Is it a discipline? Is it nutrition? Is it putting the entire puzzle together? Tell me a little bit of your story. So if you notice, I didn't say, hey, what are your goals? Like, because everyone's going to be what? Get stronger, lose some body fat, get more fat, have more energy. It's the same nonsense. No, I want to ask what's your big obstacle right now? What's holding you back? So I call it the onion, and we'll talk about this analogy quite a bit today. My goal for every person I'm talking to is I just want to peel back layers of the onion to try really figure out what's holding them back. The closer to the core of the onion that I get, the more money that they're going to invest in this. Sure. So that's question number 1. Typically, if you get really good at asking that question, they will tell you all the answers to the test from just that. There's a couple other questions like, hey, what does that gap look like between where you are now and where do you want to go? Okay, so paint me that picture. And a big one is I'm asking them on a scale of 1 to 10, I want them to prioritize it. Like, how important is this to you right now? And if it's anything, obviously, if it's anything less than a 10, I'm asking them, why is it not a 10? So that's where I'm poking and prodding and saying, like, is this something that's important to you? Step number 4, now I've qualified them. I've got them, or step number 3 is I qualified them. I either schedule them or I get them pointed in a different direction if they're not a good fit for what we do. Step number 4 is I get to give them the homework. In the homework on a high level, guys, and keep in mind, we could probably do an entire podcast on this very topic. I'm challenging them to identify what's really holding them back. So I call it the North Star. So what I challenge them to do is like, I want you to think about this, Lawrence. Like, don't write down the 3 goals that come top of mind and the 3 reasons why you want to achieve them. What I want you to do is take the next 8, 12, 24 hours. I know we're meeting here in 2 days. Really think about why you want to change. In my experience, the people that we can really help identify their North Star, those are the people that we can really put together a sustainable plan, and it's going to completely change their life. So that's kind of my why speech. But then I'm sending them over an email. They have to fill out that email before they come in for the consult. From there, I have 3 to 5 of their big goals, and I have 3 to 5 reasons why they want to change. How much easier does that make the sales conversation? And I'm just having conversations on their goals and their whys. So I really don't even need a script at that point. So that's the discovery call in 5 minutes. And like I said, we could have went 60 minutes on it.
No, that's great.
Specific questions on the discovery call process, Lawrence.
Good point. Just let me see here. No, not yet. There's some questions maybe for later, but no, this is great. Keep going.
Okay, let's keep ripping. So perfect consult. Big shout out to Mike and Corey Beth. So is it Pure Physique? I think Pure Physique. Right.
Yep.
So I stole this from Corey Beth. I stole, like, I have my own version of it, but I didn't have a name from it. It was actually on this very podcast Corey Beth was on, and she talked about this self-help.
Yeah.
I've taken that self-help framework and I put my own kind of Dave and PT Legends twist on it. So this framework right here, these are, for the most part, the only questions that you have to ask in the consult process to figure out what's really going on in your prospect's life. Okay. Now, typically, they're going to come in, like a green light, to come in for their 10 to 15 minute workout. At that point, we've already built in quality rapport on the discovery call, right? We know, do they have family? Like, what is their job? How close to the studio do they live? We know their motivation levels. Do they have kids? Like, the rapport is built. Okay. This starts when, like you said, we're starting to unpack and peel back the layers of the onion. So at this point in time, I'm not sliding right into this in the discovery call process. So just know, like, some of these questions that I'm asking, they're deeper level questions. I've earned the right to ask these questions because I already have a good amount of rapport built. So I get choked up talking about the self-help. Step number one. So, Laura, let's make this live and interactive. Okay. So, how comes to your gym? You build some rapport. You put them through a workout. They're huffing and puffing. You bring them back to the couch, and it's like, hey, Lawrence, what did you think of the workout? Oh my God, this is the most efficient, most amazing workout. I wish I would have known this type of workout existed 20 years ago. Okay, man. Well, let's sit down. Let's talk about you. Tell me. I really love the whys that you sent over. I love how we've really started identifying what you're looking to accomplish from a goal angle. What I want to start off with is, tell me about the biggest challenge that's going on right now with your health and fitness. Tell me about what's not working. Okay. How would typical prospect answer this question, Lawrence?
It's probably going to be something about time, right? Like, I just haven't got the time to work out is a common one, and why they haven't been taking action, or lack of motivation, or letting things slip, life getting busy, etc. I was just, sorry, I had a question. I know we're role playing a little bit, but can you also do this ahead of the workout? I think most of my listeners will do console before workout. Does that matter?
Yeah, you can, but here's the thing. I remember my first session at Discover Strength. Remember, like it was yesterday. My socks were knocked off. I was blown away. I was like, they're willing to buy the workout after the workout. They're
I see. So it's such an emotional, right.
Like, they're fired up. Like, this is new. Like, holy crap. Like, I understand now why, like, 60 minutes a week is all I need. So you could, like, before we transitioned to a high intensity training model, we would just do the console. Why? Because our workout wasn't special. So we didn't even want to introduce that. We just wanted to have the conversation. And now we keep our plan, like our movement assessment, like 10 to 15 minutes. We don't want to crush them. We just want to let them show, like, we like to say, slow with the new sexy. So that's our new tagline. So it's like, can you see how I'm moving slower? Like,
I love that.
Results in half the time. Like, fantastic. So you can do the consult before. I would recommend, though, then this could be a limiting belief for me. Like, I remember the first official high intensity training session that I went through. And it blew my mind. So
yeah,
I think this is such a huge point, Lawrence. Guys, you don't have to sell your high ticket program to very many people. You can utilize it just as a price anchor on your menu. It's like, for 95% of people on a high tech, I would say I'm kind of an expert at this point. We only sell from the front end to 5 to 10% of our people. That's it. The other 90% is like, hey, let's build a really strong foundation around, fitness, around workouts, around maybe one North Star habit. And then if you're ready for a lifestyle overhaul, you really step into the best version of yourself, then we can have that conversation. So just like we're price anchoring in with our $3,000 price point. So then when we ask for $699 for a 6-week program, or, $79 a week, it sounds like peanuts. So I think that's so huge. You don't have to sell very many of these heights. I would actually encourage you not to sell to the wrong person. What you're looking for here, the 5 to 10 people in your community who you love to work with, the people that you to guide outside of the gym. So I think that's a huge point.
Can you explain to the listeners like why you don't want to sell this to the wrong person?
Yeah, I've done it before. Trust me. So the people that, and we'll get into like the way that I pitch the program. We might have to do another podcast, Lawrence, because we're just
I know. It's my fault.
The way that I pitched the program, the mentorship program, I'm pitching it not to someone who wants to focus on the external transformation. So like, I want to get this XYZ strength gains, or I want to lose this much weight, or I want to lose this many inches, right? Because then that's the only thing that they're focused on. So then when you take them through this mentorship program, that's what your conversations are about. It's that, man, I've only lost 2 pounds over the course of the last 2 weeks. Like, that's a pound a week. We're right where we need to be. The people that have that external driving force, I've signed them up, that paid a premium. They just didn't get what the program was. So they went through the entire program. I'm like, yeah, it was a good program. I lost some weight. I feel good. It's the clients who come in though, that are like, hey, I just don't feel like I'm the best version of myself as a dad. Like,
I want to deeper like motivation. And you got are you concerned about that first example because it's going to be like negative word of mouth potentially if they don't feel like it's worth the value or something else?
We never got a bad review from it,
right?
But
yeah,
that's the person that went through the 9-week program, and we just truly didn't impact their life, right? It's like, yeah, that was a great fitness program that had a lot of accountability. So it's kind of like sometimes I like to call it, in this case, a 6-week program on steroids.
Okay,
right?
got it. Mm-hmm.
The ultimate accountability program. But Lawrence, if you came in, let's go through this framework because you'll really understand.
Yes.
For most people, you ask them question number 1, what are they going to say? They're going to say time or structure or lack of motivation. Like, I'm a motivated guy. I just can't put it together, right? Like, a lot of our clients, especially with the services we're pitching, there are motivated, driven people, right? It's just, they're just looking for someone to help them put the entire puzzle together and make it more efficient. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Ask them question number 2. We ask them, how long has this been going on? Typically, most of our clients are coming in, what would you say, Lawrence, are 40, 45, 50 and up.
Yep.
Busy professionals, busy parents.
Right.
It's been going on for a long time. This isn't something like, oh, it's just the last 2 or 3 months I've really struggled putting it together. Like, it's been like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So as you can see, now I'm really establishing that gap of, oh man, they're struggling with time. How long has this been going on? Oh man, I have 2 little ones. The oldest is 4.5. It's like, oh, so you've been really struggling with this kind of health and fitness for the last 4.5, 5 years of your life. Yeah, that's exactly it. So now you can see where this is going, Lawrence. I'm establishing that gap. And from this, question number 3, this is the Mike Tyson uppercut punch. This is where we get into the brass tacks. Now I'm having them to describe how is this showing up in other areas of their life. Okay. So now this is where I'm peeling back that second, third layer of the onion. Now keep in mind, guys, there's going to be a lot of follow-up questions inside of this framework. So it's typically not going to go question number 1, question number 2, question number 3 saying like, man, I just don't feel like I'm the best version of myself as a dad. Typically there's going to be some follow-up questions inside of this framework. Okay. From there though, like when you really think about this dad who comes into our studio, he's a CEO of a company. Okay. He has 2 kids. He's struggling to prioritize his health and fitness. When you ask him, like, describe how this is showing up in his life, how much more inclined is he to talk about, like, professionally? He just doesn't feel like he's the best version of himself. His relationship with his wife, right? He's always stressed. He's eating, some occasional junk food right here. Like, he works out maybe a couple times a month. How is that relationship, right? And I know for me as a dad, I know Lawrence, for you as a dad, like the reason that I eat fruits and veggies, the reason that I do my 2 workouts a week is because it allows me to be the most present, best version of myself as a dad. So I know if my fitness slacks, then I'm not spending that present time with Brax, throwing him up and down each night, acting like a dinosaur, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This CEO, this dad who comes in and sits down with us, like, yeah, he's coming in for a time-efficient workout, but I guarantee you, if you ask the questions and if he's open to having the conversation, you can get into the point where like, wow, this is actually impacting, several areas of my life. Okay. From there, I'm asking, how long have you felt like that? So what started off as a time conversation, how long has this been going on? 4 to 5 years. How is this really showing up? I just don't feel like I'm the most present version of myself. How long have you felt like that? Oh shoot, Dave, maybe the last 5 to 10 years. And then step number 5 is where you future pace.
Just pause. Just on step 3.
Yeah.
5. I don't know whether this is a cultural thing, but when I've asked steps, so I have actually obviously taken this template as well from Corey Bear and asked that question, how is this showing up? It's quite abstract. How else would you put that? Have you said describe how this is showing up and they don't necessarily know what you mean, and then you put it a different way? I'm curious. That happened?
I love the word impact. Impact is the one that I
Right.
like the most.
Oh, how does this
Describe how
impact your life? That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll pull out so for example, I'm just become the best version of my dad. Like I want to become the best dad I can be right now. So if I know they're a dad, I can specifically ask that
Yeah.
question in 3. So, okay. So now let's go back to the discovery call. Okay. The discovery call, I gave him that homework. So let's just say that one of the reasons why they wanted to change was I want to be a better leader in my house. So from there, like I
Yeah.
said, the answers to the test. So therefore, when I get to question number 3 is like, man, Morris, like I was so aligned with one of your whys here. Like you mentioned that you want to be a better leader leader in the house. Like describe how this, the lack of you making time for your fitness, how is that impacting, you becoming that leader in the house? So that's what's cool, guys. When you get the why homework at the end, you can pull those very specific examples and build inside of this framework. But to answer your question, I love the word impact. Like how's
Yeah, I
it
think that's a great idea.
impacting life?
Yeah.
And keep in mind, guys, some people aren't going to be willing to answer it. Some people like, especially if it's a colder person that comes in off of the street, that's fine. But guess what? I have never had anyone offended with me going through these questions and asking like, hey, what's going on in your life? I think we talked about this our first podcast. And the reason being, very few people in their life are asking them these questions.
Today's episode is sponsored by Imagine Strength, the game changer in safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training machines. When it comes to HIIT, Imagine Strength is your go-to for intelligently designed, efficient, and affordable equipment. Their team is passionate about HIIT, and it shows in every piece they craft. So why are Imagine Strength the right choice? Number 1, they tailor-make their equipment for HIIT studios. Number 2, they provide cost-effective solutions for your business. And number 3, they are committed to ongoing innovation and refinement. Ready to take your HIIT business to the next level? Visit imaginestrength.com to discuss your needs and find the perfect gear for your studio. Join the HIIT revolution of Imagine Strength and transform your workout experience today. Yeah.
Right.
What would you do if someone didn't answer or refused to answer a question? What's your approach to that?
Yeah. So if it's like an iceberg, I'm not going to spend all day poking and prodding, right? Like,
What do you mean iceberg? As in there's loads beneath the surface and they're dead, but what do you mean by that? Sorry, yeah.
Just closed off.
Oh,
Keep it
cold, right.
That's why I'm a big fan of the discovery call process, because you can feel on the discovery call.
You already be able to you're going to qualify like 99% of those people out before they get to this stage. Got it, yeah.
Okay. And then there's certain instances, especially back in my bodybuilding prime, where I kind of looked like a gorilla. I would be sitting down with a potential, let's just say a mom, and maybe they are super closed off. I'm always building in relationally there. Like I'm talking about, and this is true, one of the driving forces that got me in this business was my mom. My mom always put her health on the back burner. She always put her fitness. It was always about her boys. So I would bring typically me connecting that aspect with like someone who's like, oh, Dave's a big meathead. That typically it gives them almost permission to open up and have the conversation. So
right, yeah.
Other tactic, a strategy, I don't have to use it anymore because my shoulders aren't, they're not rounded and blowing out my polos. But back in those days, like I would have to really share a little bit of my personal story to connect to them, to get them to open up.
Interesting.
Okay. So how long has this been showing up? So you're asking this question twice, guys. And the reason being, question number 3, describe how this is showing up, how this is impacting. Now you're really identifying what's going on. I want to ask once again, how long have you felt like that? Then from there is the future based. if things don't change 5 years down the road, 10 years ago, like paint me a picture of what that looks like. And for most people, they've never thought about that. That dad or mom who comes in because they want a time efficient workout and they don't realize that like the lack of them prioritizing their health and fitness is causing resistance in their life that they didn't even know existed. All of a sudden, when you ask them, like, if things don't change, what happens? That makes it really real. From there, guys, like, I know the majority of the time if someone if they're ready, and I know if they're a good fit for a high ticket program after I go through this framework. Any specific questions that you have, Lawrence, inside of the Sell the Hell framework?
Well, how long does this take you roughly to complete the Sell the Hell?
Yeah. So the beautiful part, if you do your job in the discovery call, I already have the answers to the test. So there's less poking and prodding, 20 to 25 minutes when you get really good at it.
Yeah.
I've got it done within 15, 20 minutes. Like once I identify this is what's really holding them back, I go all in on that. So I'm not looking for a bunch of things. I'm just looking for the one thing. The second that I find the one thing, I don't have to spend more time inside of this framework.
And it's, I guess the key, I'm guessing, in getting it done in that time frame is shutting up, asking a question, letting them talk like 80% of the time, and you're talking 10% of the time during this. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's not like this podcast where I'm jabbering my jaws. If I'm in a consult, the only thing that I'm doing are the 2 A's. I'm acknowledging how they're feeling and I'm asking a question.
Got it.
Legitimately, that's what took me a year to understand. It's not about me. I think
it's such a hard skill to learn.
Not about me. It's like, no, like this is about them. And it's honestly, man, it's about giving them a platform.
Yeah.
Like we live in such a world right now, brother, to where like, it's just, there's so much just law going on in people's head. And like, no one's giving them the opportunity to talk about like what's really holding them back. Because I say it over and over again, it can't just be about workouts and nutrition. And for the gym owners out there that I would challenge you just to think about what fitness has done for you. How has it truly impacted your life? Because the majority of people that come in and speak to us, like there's so much, I call them the inner gremlins. There's so many innate gremlins in their head saying like, you're not good enough, or, you shouldn't prioritize yourself. And the majority of people are just not living their best life. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I could talk.
No, I enjoy the passion. Yeah.
So that's the Sell the Hell framework. From there, guys, I call it hype in the heaven. So kind of that transition is like, Lawrence, like, brother, like, number one, I appreciate you like opening up and tell me what's really going on. Now we're going to have fun. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build out the vision. We're going to really define who do you want to be 6 months from now, a year from now. So now what do you want to achieve? What do you want your life to look like? So see, now I'm getting pumped up. I'm getting excited. Then from there, I'm having them like describe what does success look like. Okay. The second question I just freaking love. Paint me a picture in detail. Describe how this is going to make you feel. So when you talk about like, let's just say that corporate dad 6 months from now, like they're hammering the waist, they're getting strong, right? What is that doing to their lives? Like what's it going to do with the relationship with their kids? Okay. I'm probably spending more present time with them. Well, what are you going to do with that time? What about your lady? Are you picking her up, throwing her in the bed, having some fun with her, on a random Tuesday night? Like, I want to get very vivid here. It can't just be, I'm going to have more energy and feel better. It's like, no, what is that going to do to your life? Right? So like, it's very important, guys, inside of this, that you're just not, I'm going to feel better, I'm going to have more energy. No, you're clearly defining like, what type of human being are they going to be? How are their relationships going to be? How are they going to walk into a boardroom? How are they going to walk into a bedroom? The example that I like, that's the conversation that you're having inside of this. That's why I call it hyping the heaven too. It's just like, how are you going to feel 6 months from now when you do the time efficient workouts and get stronger? It's like, no, there's that deeper level there. Have them paint that picture.
I think one of the challenges I think a lot of us have with this actually is that we aren't or have never been one of these people, right? Because you've always been into health and fitness. You've always, just as you're describing, as you're talking, I'm thinking I was at the playground with my kids yesterday and there's like a monkey bars there and I just run over to them and I jump up and I start doing chin-ups and I do it in front of my kids because, kids don't do what you say, they do what you do, right? So I always try and do little stuff in front of them like that. And then I like chase them and run around and play with them. And it's just like a couple of dads, very overweight, sat in the middle on their phones. just on their picnic tables while their kids are running around. And the kids want them to play with them and they can't. I'm like, it's so sad. So not to side quest too much here, but I think, I mean, I'm sure you know people. I know a few who've gone through huge transformation. So they've like, I mean, I'm sure you obviously you've seen a lot of clients, but I mean, people who are in our space, in kind of the, gym owner space, studio owners, where they did have bad health and then they used a combination of whatever it was, diet, resistance training, etc., to get into great health. So they do have more empathy and can relate better to those individuals. So I think sometimes it's a challenge both ways because you have to get better at learning how to empathize with that person. Because they're also going to look at you saying, well, you don't know how it feels, right? Especially if you've been, I mean, I've never been unfit. I've been pretty much, I've been less fit and had more body fat, but I've never really been unfit. I've always been sporty or done strength training and sort of looked after myself, for the most part. I was with a few blips for university stuff. Anyway, I digress, but just you got me thinking about that. How can be a bit of a challenge. Yeah.
There's no way in hell I could have sold this thing 7 years ago.
Right.
It was like, no, you need to work out 4 to 5 hours a week and you need to follow this XYZ diet. Like, even if I would have known about high intensity training 7 years ago, I would have leaned all in. Hey, you need to work out 2-3 sessions a week. We're going to kick your butt. We'll assign you some macronutrients to follow. Like, that's what I believed in. Like, it wasn't until I didn't get out of shape, but it was when honestly, it was the first time that I held Braxton. Like, when I held Braxton for the first time, then I realized that fitness isn't what I thought it was. The first quick year in the industry, it was aesthetics. It was abs, big chest, meaty deltoids. Dude, I still remember, I think I told the story in 2014, I was backstage at a bodybuilding show, prepped a whole year to become an IFBB pro. And I remember snapping a photo. We did this rapid backload where I did like 1,200 carbs. I remember snapping that photo and I was shredded to a T. And I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, just how much I hated myself. But I thought fitness success was. So for me, even though I'd never been out of shape, like when I held Braxton, I was like, oh, wow, like this means something. It means something more. Now that I've had the privilege of having thousands and thousands of conversations, like I had a conversation and we onboarded Kathy into our Fit Forever program yesterday. And we're having this conversation and we're building out like, what does this best version of herself look like, right? And she started talking about like, I could get my kids involved on this journey. And there were 2 kids were there, like they're on their iPads. But she was talking about like, we're building out a strategy to get her entire family involved.
Oh, I love that.
You know what I mean? It's like that's
like a Dr. Gabrielle Leon. She's always taking her kids to strength training sessions. And there's a guy in our niche, John Thompson, who runs Limitless. Do you know John? He's from a podcast and he's got these great Instagram videos. Yeah, we'll link to it. And it's just his kids doing like calisthenics and they're like 5. And they're doing like chin-ups and like, what is it, where you hold your body weight up in the air and do like an L seat kind of thing,
Yeah.
And it's super like impressive stuff. Yeah.
Well, this all goes hand in hand. What we're talking about here is like helping someone really clearly define what do they want their life to look like, and then offering them a solution, which every gym owner out there who's listening, like we're sitting on the secret sauce, guys, because we're giving them their time back. So just having the workouts as part of that puzzle piece, like, holy crap, that's profoundly changed. Like I say it all the time, like that's how we change the world. As a high intensity training community, utilizing that in combination with everything that I'm talking about here, it's like we could truly impact people's lives.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, that's like to heaven.
That's awesome. I love it.
We're going to have to do a separate podcast on pitching the program, which I think.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. So is this, okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. We've got another slide here. Yeah.
Yeah. So pitching the program is fun. Like that's what at this point in my life, I'm most passionate about is helping gym owners create their own process on really defining what does their mentorship program mean for them. And we can have that conversation, Lawrence, like I said, a different podcast.
Yeah, sure.
No, this cell is going to be made at this point. It has its own separate step. This step in the process is only going to be anywhere from 90 seconds to, let's just say 2.5 minutes. This is, I'll tell the story. My very first time that I invested in a high ticket coach. Okay. I got on the call because I wanted to learn how to sell high ticket. Okay. So Hall was the name. He took me through the process. Probably had different names from it, but it was the exact process that we went over today. And I thought that I just wanted to make more money. But in that conversation, Carrie, my wife, was 7 months pregnant at the time. He pulled out of me that it wasn't about the money. It was the fact that I was getting ready to be a dad and I wanted to be the most supportive, like, leader in the house dad. So it wasn't about the money. It was just about that, like the family legacies. Like, it was about, having the means to support my son, my firstborn, to the best of my ability.
So being a provider over just having like money for money's sake. Yeah.
I had no idea that was going on in my, in my inner being until that conversation.
I feel very strongly about that too. Yeah. It's interesting when that shift happens. Yeah.
The shift, right? Yeah. It's like the weight loss person who comes in, I know it's just, the weight is just a symptom. Like a gym owner who comes to me and I just want more leads. No, that's the symptom. Like there's always that deeper level there. It's our job to get there. Once you get there, this is where, in the Monster Recap, this is probably the very first time in the entire sales process that you get to talk. Everything up to this point, you're acknowledging and you're just asking questions. You're acknowledging, you're asking questions, maybe telling a story to connect a little bit more, or adding in some social proof. But at this point in time, the Monster Recap is where you get to repeat their story back to them. So I love this line. I know your story better than you know it. And guys, if you can nail this Monster Recap, which is basically where you're recapping their hell and you're recapping where they want to go in the journey, what happens? They're going to feel very heard. Like that's my part. Like, holy crap. Like I didn't know this is where I didn't know that this was going to be a therapy session. Like it was just, you don't have to be a therapist to do this, right? Like for most people come in, what would you say what's the pain of your typical person coming into a high intensity training gym? Like, what is it? Is it like they want to feel stronger, longevity? Like, what would you say, Lawrence? Like a couple pain points.
I think for us, it was a lot of the time was just feeling better about themselves. Confidence was huge, right?
Okay.
Looking better in the mirror, aging better, having less pain. I think those were a lot of the big drivers. Yeah. Probably the number one thing would be like self-confidence, self-esteem. Yeah.
Perfect. So when I get into kind of that health framework, right, and I pull out of them, like it probably all starts there. Like, hey, we started off this conversation today, and honestly, it was about like, hey, you wanted to lose that 5 to 10 pounds, you want to lose some, body fat percentage, and you had a bunch of, you have some aches and pains just because you're not a spring chicken anymore, Lawrence. But after our conversation today, there's more to it than just that. It's the fact that you've kind of put yourself on the back burner, and now every single night you get home for work and the family kind of goes on the back burner. Like you're there, but you're not truly there. Okay. So where you want to be 6 months from now is, you want to build some muscle. Right? You want to lose that 5 to 10 pounds. You want to get back into your 32s. But more importantly than that is you want to step into the best version of yourself as a dad and supporter in your household. So you see, that's the Monster Recap right there. Like I list, you came in here initially for X, Y, and Z, but after talking with you, like there's a deeper level there. Then list whatever that deeper level is. And then in the heaven, this is where you want to be. This is how you want to feel 6 months from now.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because I've done this many times in terms of like recapping what they've said, and they feel so heard and they're like, oh my God. And they're like, how do you know? It's like, well, you just told me. But and I've had it done to me, and I know this is actually like a meta thing to be aware of. It's like, because I think some people listening might think, oh, this seems quite, it's not at all. No. I was going to say manipulative, but it's not at all. It's more therapeutic, and it is manipulative, but in a positive way, I guess you could say. But I have had this done to me, as I'm sure you have, Dave. You've worked with different mentors and coaches, and it's like I know it's happening, but I still appreciate it because it's professional and it's productive and it's effective, and your prospects will appreciate you going about it this way. So I think if any, some people listening might have that barrier. So I'm just trying to like squash that, because I think that, I remember this saying, it's like one of the things I learned in sales was don't try, what is it? I can't remember. It's like, don't worry about selling, just be really good. Like, just be really good at the process, and it won't matter that you're selling. I don't know, I probably butchered that, but it was like, because that's that whole, you're structuring it in a way that's going to be of the most service to the person you're speaking to, and you're being professional and all of that. So maybe that's just obvious to you because you're very advanced, but I think to some people listening, there there's some stigma around sales. So yeah.
Yeah. I would say my excuse me, my favorite people, like gym owners, to take them through this process are the people that are pretty inexperienced in sales, or maybe they're not 10 out of 10 rock stars. Now, or who the gym owners we work with that have a $50,000 launch? No, right? Because they're like, it's like a baby duck coming in, right? Like man, I get it, but this is so new to me. And they look at sales as kind of a bad thing. They look at it as, Wolf of Wall Street with,
Yeah.
that's the way they view it. Whereas my favorite part of that process, working with the person that maybe doesn't look at sales as a fun thing, it's shifting that mindset of like, I'm just here to help, serve, and connect. Man,
Yeah.
if you just embrace that, and it's not about high ticket or low ticket or mid ticket. It's just, no, like, I'm just here to ask questions and just give someone a sounding board and an opportunity to talk about like what's really going on in their life. Like if you just embrace that portion of it, then you have to go into it where every single conversation, whether they sign up for a high ticket program or not, like, man, it could 100% impact their life. There was a guy, Bach, who I took through a consult. This is way back in the day, probably like 2021. Took Bobby through a consult, perfect for our executive transformation. So he was one we're going to work with. He owned it's like a musical company for kids too. So I had an executive program to where it was like the fitness mentorship, plus we worked on some of his business goals too. Okay. So I was like, he was my dream candidate. I made the mistake. We can talk about this another day. I let him get out of there without putting down the first payment. And then his wife talked him out of it. Okay, so I talked him out of it, and like, Dave, I'm so sorry, man. Like, maybe one day. Right. And so follow up with Bobby a couple times through the years. I ran into him at this random church event like 2 months ago. And he came up and he hugged me and he almost started crying.
No way.
Dude, I can't believe that. Like I said, like you're here, I'm here. And that was a conversation that happened 3.5 years ago. So it's always that reminder.
But why was he emotional? Because he didn't move forward with it. I'm confused.
But just because of that conversation, like I was there and
I see.
Yeah. Like what was really going on.
Okay.
My point was that conversation was so memorable. Like no one else probably in his life is like sat down and I'm like, hey, Bobby, what's really going on? And it's really, you can just see it. Like he didn't cry or anything because that would be weird. But like hugged to me, he's like, man, I can't believe these things. I can't believe that God put us back in the same room again. All these later. So it just goes to show you, for anyone out there that doesn't like the sales process, like I wouldn't utilize this tactics to sell a Nissan car, but like fitness changed my life, and I've seen it change so many other people's life, especially now switching over to the more time efficient solution too. So if you just learn to reframe the sales process as like, I'm just here to help serve and connect and figure out what the heck is going on in their life, then some amazing things will happen.
That's a great reframe. There's so many things there you said, like ultimately we're selling something that's so valuable. It provides so much value, and there's so many businesses out there that don't and sell some stuff that we just simply don't need. So that's a huge thing that should support your conviction and what you're doing. And just look at how much it helps your life when you can eat right. You take the habits that a lot of us healthy individuals take for granted, the training, the knowledge of it all, etc. And like you say, I love that. Like I've always loved that. And I've always taken that approach in sales in terms of that. It's not about closing them. It's about just giving them the best outcome for them. And it's always having that long game view where it's like, look, if they don't, I've had so many people buy from me way further down the line recently, actually. People who I provided lots of value to in consultations, and then obviously in content and various emails or what have you, and just did your technique, like every quarter, like, hey, how's it going? It's just a way to think, and like, don't be like, again, you're going to get rejection, obviously. And it's just about, like you say, planting seeds. I think you actually had that in your presentation today. Like, so you're constantly planting seeds and then just doing that all the time, and then it will work out well. Yeah. So,
100%.
so I know you've got a 4. I got a couple questions, very quick, rapid fire. So
Yes.
do you want to say
So
what you wanted to say first, or you got a 4? Or
no,
that's okay.
I think this is really good. This is the first step,
Yeah.
four steps of the sales process.
Okay.
We up maybe that we could do an entire podcast on pitching the program. I think that would be, because a lot of this is like, okay, this makes sense, but how the heck do I like talk about the program? So
Yeah.
I can information on like how to pitch a high ticket program, and I could talk about how to talk about your high ticket program just to anchor it in, and then offer them whatever your fitness only solution is. So we can have that conversation.
Cool. So that'd be like, there's part 1, that'd be like part 2, and then maybe delivery as well. Maybe, or maybe we can put delivery in. Yeah. Because then that gives everyone the whole, framework to just implement. So quick question, rapid fire. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves with this one, but maybe you can answer it anyway. How do we determine the price for a first time premium high ticket offering?
Oh, you're gonna love this. So I call it the butthole pucker. So if I'm if like this is what I do, I've built out at this point probably 250 offers. Typically, let me just say like $1,000 to $2,000 for just the bolt-on, just the mentorship. So let's just say if they're coming for training sessions, like don't change anything. They still continue to pay for the training sessions. The 1,000 to 2,000 is a really good sweet spot. With that being said, if your butthole puckered when I said 1,000, maybe your starting point is 600, 700. So if I work with a newbie, it's like you have to charge $500 for, and this is a 9 to 12 week mentorship program. So from a fulfillment angle, look at this. You're going to do an onboarding session, and then you're going to do a one-on-one conversation with them for every week of the program. So butthole pucker, 500 has to be the minimum. You will eventually get to a spot towards $1,000 to $2,000. That could potentially even be your virtual high ticket offer too. It depends if you do one-on-one training, or if you do like with a Greenlight, we do small group personal training. So ours is $3,000, and that includes the up to 3 of our semi-private small group personal training sessions for 12 weeks, plus the one-on-one mentorship. So big picture, like that's a really easy way.
Can you just quickly high level tell us what that high ticket looks like? What does that service look like exactly? What's being delivered?
Yeah. So there's really 3 pillars to what we focus on. Okay. We call it our smart training sessions, right? That's the fitness angle. So time efficient workouts that are what? Time efficient, safe, effective. Okay. The only other thing that we're focusing on, and from a fitness angle, is making yourself a priority for a minimum of 15 days with some type of intentional movement. That's our fitness pillar. Our nutrition pillar is, hey, we're going to simplify nutrition. We're going to build you out a plan that is super flexible, that's fun, that's built around your family and friends so you can follow it forever. The secret sauce to what we do at Greenlight, and the reason why we max out all of our clubs at 150 members, is you're going to have a dedicated coach in your corner. Okay. So we have a 90-day transformational program, and that's where I would walk them through. This will be a conversation that we do for our next podcast, but from a delivery of workouts, they get a one-on-one onboarding. We're going to custom build out a strategy, a structure for their life outside of the gym. And guess what, guys? Like, it's simple. We never focus on more than 3 habits at a time with any of our clients. So we build out that strategy, and then they get a one-on-one coaching conversation at the end of each week to talk about their obstacles, their struggles, celebrate wins, talk about what they're learning about themselves in the process, build out their priorities for the next week. So
very cool.
high ticket is, it's going to be the fitness component. It's going to be simple habits-based nutrition, and then just building out a lifestyle for the hours that they're not in the gym.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Awesome, Dave. I think we'll wrap it there because I need to shoot for a meeting. But yeah,
if you have a couple other questions though,
for one quick one then, since you ask, what are some options for high ticket programs you've seen? So you mentioned you've done a lot of offers. What other high ticket programs could be offered out there as well? Yeah,
gosh darn, this is where it could get so fun. So potentially maybe you have a hormonal contact in your community that includes blood work, labs, maybe even include their supplementation. So that could be what we like to call the executive offer, to where, you get the fitness component, you get the nutrition, you get the accountability or mentorship, and then you get, I call it some type of secret sauce. It could be maybe for that CEO that's super busy, maybe you shop 10 meals a week, you can ship them to his house. Okay. So it could be maybe meal prep, like meal preps included, 10 meals a week. It could be hormonal. Maybe you've partnered up with a massage therapist, right? Maybe you can that.
The same with the hormonal stuff. You could partner up with some medical professionals on that side and do like some kind of like commission back, payment or something like that for that. Yeah.
Yep. It could be to where you add in maybe the supplementations for the 9 to 12 weeks. So if you have like, we cover your protein and X, Y, and Z. One of our kind of big things that we offer, Brandon, my GM partner at my Greenlight, he's the former chef. So anyone that goes through our high ticket program, they get a celebratory like dinner.
Oh, wow.
Gourmet food
Nice.
to the house. So that's the fun part with this game, guys, is you could take your other connections, your other B2B partners, and you could build them in too. And then it really makes it a truly irresistible.
Holmosy does a great job of doing this in office, doesn't he? For the bonuses, like I mean, there's so much obviously we try and do inside the HIV community in terms of trying to create as many beneficial partnerships as possible. They really opened my mind up on that. And yeah, no, you make a good point. Like the executives, the CEOs, these types who they value time so much. And if the more you can just minimize time on all of these things and literally serve it to them on a plate, not just the food, but the blood work, the supplements, and just do all the work for them. So all they have to do is like consume it. They'll pay. I'm sure you can charge like 10 grand for something like that, maybe more.
Oh, for sure.
Right. What's the most expensive high ticket you've seen actually? And we'll wrap it after this stage.
Yeah. 10 to 12 would be,
okay.
That's probably too where you've really niched down. So that's where it's like,
right.
Both advisors who have been in business for 15 years that want to do Y and Z and become freaking RoboCop in 90 days. Like that's like at that point you've really niched down and you have a very specific solution for a very specific person. That's what allows you up the price of your high ticket program.
Yeah. Great point. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this as always. And we'll set up a part 2. I appreciate you wanting to do that. Again, where are we sending people, Dave, if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, it's similar to the Greenlight Movement. That's my new Instagram handle. So the Greenlight Movement.
Okay. The Greenlight Movement is the handle. Yeah. Cool. Okay. We'll link that up as well in the show notes. highintensitybusiness.com. Dave, thank you so much. It's been awesome as always. And it's Lawrence of highintensitybusiness.com. And we will talk to you soon. And thank you very much for listening. This episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your go-to for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Growing a successful high-intensity training business requires workout equipment that's not only high quality, but also intelligently designed to fit the unique needs of your studio. And that's where Imagine Strength comes in. Drawing on the wisdom of the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength has crafted a groundbreaking line of fitness equipment that's as affordable as it is efficient, giving your studio the upgrade it needs without breaking the bank. The team at Imagine Strength breathes HIIT. Their passion for high-intensity training shines through in their designs, which they've consistently refined and innovated for optimum effectiveness and user experience. From my personal experience at Rec, I can attest to the careful consideration and craftsmanship that goes into every single piece. My Imagine Strength workout was absolutely brutal, in a good way, of course. Now, what makes Imagine Strength truly stand out? They have innovative equipment tailored for the unique needs of HIIT studios, affordable and efficient designs, lowering the barriers to entry for a HIIT business, continuous innovation and refinement ensuring your studio stays ahead of the curve. Founder Jeff Turner and his team are dedicated to moving the HIIT industry forward and making strength training accessible to more people than ever before. Here's how you get started. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, discuss your specific needs with the team. And number 3, select the equipment that will propel your business to the next level. Head to imaginestrength.com today and give your HIIT business the Imagine Strength edge. Be part of the HIIT revolution and see firsthand how their unique equipment can transform your studio's workout experience. Elevate your HIIT business with Imagine Strength. Let's go.